Mercedes just got humiliated in its own backyard. Stuttgart's flagship S-Class, the car that defined automotive luxury for 50 years, now faces a Chinese challenger that costs less, charges faster, rides smoother, and sold out in under 12 hours. While Mercedes engineers are still explaining why their seats need 18 adjustment motors, NIO just launched a sedan with suspension so advanced it drove over speed bumps, balancing a tower of champagne glasses without spilling a drop. This is the ET9, and it's rewriting every assumption about where genuine automotive innovation actually happens. The numbers tell a story Mercedes doesn't want you hearing. The 2025 Mercedes S-Class starts at roughly $118,000 in the United States. The NIO ET9 launches at approximately $190,000 in China, with full battery purchase dropping to around $91,000 if you subscribe to NIO's Battery as a Service program. That's $27,000 less for the subscription model, enough to buy a decent used car. But here's where it gets uncomfortable for Stuttgart. The ET9 doesn't just cost less. It delivers technology Mercedes won't have for 3 to 5 years, performance that embarrasses the base S-Class, and a charging system that makes Mercedes engineers look like they're stuck in 2015. Let's start with the foundation, because this is where NIO's ambition becomes clear. The ET9 rides on NIO's NT 3.0 platform, the company's third-generation electric vehicle architecture. This is China's first production car using a fully 900-volt electrical system, not just marketing 800 volts like Porsche Taycan. Every component from motors to battery to charging runs at 900 volts native, enabling capabilities that lower voltage systems physically cannot match. The rear motor alone produces 340 kilowatts, roughly 460 horsepower, using what NIO calls W-pin continuous wave windings for higher efficiency. Combined with a 180 kilowatt front induction motor, total system output reaches 697 horsepower and 700 newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 km per hour happens in 4.3 seconds, with top speed limited to 220 km per hour. Compare that to the Mercedes S500, the base S-Class model most buyers actually purchase. Mercedes equips it with a 3.0-liter turbocharged inline-six, producing 442 horsepower. That's 255 horsepower less than the ET9, a gap so massive it's almost embarrassing. The S580 with its V8 delivers 496 horsepower, still 200 horses short of the NIO. Only the AMG S63E Performance with its plug-in hybrid system producing over 650 horsepower approaches the ET9's output, but that car costs $186,000, roughly $70,000 more than the NIO. Let that sink in. Mercedes charges $70,000 extra for similar power while NIO includes its standard. The 900-volt architecture enables charging speeds that make Mercedes look primitive. The ET9 accepts DC fast charging at peak power reaching 600 kilowatts, with current hitting 772 amperes. NIO claims adding 255 kilometers of range takes just 5 minutes on their latest chargers. The battery pack holds 100 kilowatt hours using NIO's self-developed 46105 format cylindrical cells with energy density at 292 watt-hours per kilogram. CLTC range sits at 650 kilometers, roughly equivalent to 400 miles in real-world mixed driving. That's competitive with S-Class plug-in hybrid models, but achieved in a pure electric platform. But here's where NIO plays a trump card Mercedes can't match: battery swapping. The ET9's battery pack can be removed and replaced with a fully charged unit in approximately 3 minutes at NIO's 4th-generation swap stations. Think about that, 3 minutes. Less time than most people spend at a gas station. You pull into a swap station, automated systems lift your car, remove the depleted battery, install a fresh pack, lower the car, and you drive away. No waiting for charging, no anxiety about finding a fast charger, no degradation concerns, because you can always swap to newer battery technology as it becomes available. Mercedes has nothing remotely comparable. Their fastest charging S-Class, the S580e plug-in hybrid, accepts DC fast charging at just 60 kilowatts, taking 20 minutes to go from 10 to 80% on a relatively small 28 kilowatt-hour battery. The ET9 charges over 10 times faster. Now let's talk about the technology that has Mercedes engineers losing sleep. The ET9 introduces Skyride, NIO's intelligent chassis system developed in partnership with Massachusetts-based ClearMotion. This is the world's first production vehicle using fully active electro-hydraulic suspension at each wheel, responding to road inputs within milliseconds. ClearMotion claims the system reduces in-cabin motion by approximately 75% compared to existing air suspension technology. That's not incremental improvement, that's a generational leap. NIO demonstrated this capability at the ET9 ET9 launch by driving over speed bumps with a multi-layer tower of champagne glasses balanced on the hood. Not a single glass spilled or even wobbled significantly. Mercedes air suspension, as impressive as it is, cannot do this. The S-Class aromatic system uses air springs and adaptive dampers, passive technology compared to the ET9's active hydraulic actuators that can independently push or pull each wheel to counteract road irregularities. The ET9 also debuts steer-by-wire technology in China's first mass production application. There's no mechanical connection between the steering wheel and front wheels. Electronic sensors read your inputs, and hydraulic actuators turn the wheels with variable ratios depending on speed and driving mode. Combined with rear-wheel steering capable of turning up to 8.3 degrees, the ET9 can perform incredibly tight maneuvers despite measuring over 5.3 meters long. The turning circle shrinks to something you'd expect from a compact sedan. Mercedes offers rear-wheel steering on S-Class, but only up to 10 degrees on AMG models and 4.5 degrees on standard trims, less capable than NIO's system. And Mercedes still uses traditional mechanical steering columns, adding weight and complexity the ET9 eliminates. Step inside and the cabin tells you everything about NIO's ambitions. This is a 4-seat executive layout, not a 5-passenger family sedan. 2 seats up front, 2 individual thrones in the rear, separated by a full-length center console NIO calls the executive bridge. That console runs nearly the entire wheelbase length, crafted from a single piece of figured sycamore wood in higher trims. NIO claims the interior features nearly 200,000 stitches of precision embroidery, hand-applied over hours by craftspeople trained specifically for this vehicle. The paint process involves 12 stringent steps consuming 107 hours per vehicle, approaching Rolls-Royce levels of attention. Materials include Nappa leather throughout, sustainable wood trim, aluminum accents, and soft touch surfaces covering every area your hands or body contact. The rear seats are where the ET9 justifies its executive flagship positioning. These aren't just recliners. They're zero-gravity lounges with 18-way power adjustment, heating, ventilation, multiple massage programs, extending leg rests, and individual headrest speakers for personalized audio. NIO integrated active noise cancellation and triple-glazed windows, keeping cabin sound levels incredibly low. The company claims road noise at 120 kilometers per hour remains quieter than most luxury sedans at 80. Combine that with the suspension isolating you from road imperfections, and the ET9 creates a sense of calm that few cars can match. Mercedes S-Class rear seats are undeniably luxurious with their own massage, heating, ventilation, and generous adjustment range. But the ET9's zero-gravity design and active suspension create a floating sensation Mercedes simply cannot replicate with conventional technology. Technology continues with screens dominating the dashboard, a large digital instrument cluster for the driver, a central touchscreen handling infotainment and vehicle controls, and options for additional displays, including massive rear entertainment screens for passengers. The system runs NIO's SkyOS operating system powered by dual Shenji NX9031 autonomous driving chips. These are NIO's self-developed 5-nanometer processors. Each chip delivering computing power NIO claims exceeds the previous generation system using 4 NVIDIA Orin X chips. That's remarkable. NIO developed chips that outperform NVIDIA's latest automotive processors, a stunning technological achievement that few believed a Chinese automaker could accomplish just 5 years ago. Mercedes S-Class runs 2nd generation MBUX powered by conventional automotive processors. It's capable and feature-rich, but the underlying compute power lags significantly behind NIO's custom silicon. The autonomous driving hardware suite called Aquila 2.0 includes 31 sensors providing 360-degree awareness. 2 side-facing LiDAR units mount on the front fenders with range up to 150 meters, plus a forward-facing roof unit enabling 350-degree LiDAR coverage. The system also uses what NIO calls 4D millimeter wave radars capable of measuring elevation in addition to conventional range, velocity, and azimuth. That 4th dimension allows more precise object detection and classification. Mercedes equips Drive Pilot on the S-Class with over 35 sensors including LiDAR, cameras, and radar, impressive hardware, that enables conditionally automated driving up to 95 kilometers per hour on select highways. But Drive Pilot only works in Germany and recently launched in limited areas of the United States. NIO's system operates across Chinese highways and cities with unlimited coverage, and the company tested it successfully in Germany during 2024 with global rollout planned for 2025. The ET9 ships with hardware capable of level 4 autonomy once regulations permit, future-proofing the vehicle in ways Mercedes hasn't matched. Audio comes from NIO's Lyra sound system with over 20 speakers strategically placed throughout the cabin, including ceiling-mounted units and those headrest speakers for individual listening zones. The system creates genuine 3D sound staging where each passenger feels immersed in their own acoustic bubble. Mercedes counters with their Burmester 4D surround system using 30 speakers and 1,750 watts in top trims, an incredible setup in its own right. But NIO's approach with headrest speakers and ceiling arrays creates more personalized zones rather than filling the entire cabin with uniform sound. brand. It's a different philosophy, arguably better suited to the chauffeured executive use case where rear passengers want their own audio experience independent of the driver. Dimensions position both vehicles in the full-size luxury sedan segment. The ET9 measures 5,325 mm long with a 3,250 mm wheelbase. The Mercedes S-Class measures approximately 5,290 mm long with a 3,216 mm wheelbase in standard form. The ET9 is slightly longer with a bit more wheelbase, translating to marginally more rear legroom. Both vehicles provide genuinely spacious rear accommodations suitable for tall adults on long journeys. Trunk capacity favors the Mercedes at 550 liters versus the ET9's battery-compromised cargo area, a trade-off inherent to electric platforms. But most buyers in this segment care more about passenger comfort than hauling groceries. Build quality is where subjective assessment meets objective measurement. Mercedes has spent decades perfecting manufacturing processes and materials selection. The S-Class interior feels impeccably assembled. It was assembled with tight panel gaps, flawless leather stitching, and switchgear that operates with satisfying precision. NIO is younger as an automaker, founded in 2014 compared to Mercedes' century-plus history. Early NIO models showed typical startup quality inconsistencies, but the ET9 represents 10 years of learning and billions in development investment. Reviews from Chinese media and early customers praise the fit and finish as genuinely world-class, not just good for a Chinese brand. Panel gaps are tight, materials feel premium. The 200,000 stitches aren't marketing hyperbole, they're visible evidence of care. NIO clearly studied Mercedes, Rolls-Royce, and Bentley, then hired craftspeople trained to similar standards. The ET9 may not quite match an S-Class in every subjective detail, but it's close enough that most buyers won't notice differences. Safety equipment includes comprehensive active systems. Both vehicles offer adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring, automatic emergency braking, and a full suite of sensors and cameras. The ET9's Aquila 2.0 sensor suite provides more coverage and redundancy than most competitors. Mercedes Drive Pilot adds level 3 conditional automation in limited geographies, a feature NIO hasn't legally achieved yet in markets outside China. But NIO's hardware is more advanced, suggesting their position to leapfrog Mercedes once regulations permit higher autonomy levels globally. The elephant in the showroom is brand perception. Mercedes has spent over 100 years building reputation for quality, reliability, and prestige. The three-pointed star carries cachet that money cannot buy quickly. When you arrive at a business meeting in an S-Class, people notice and make assumptions about your success. NIO is a 10-year-old Chinese startup that most Western buyers have never heard of. Pulling up in an ET9 requires explanation, and not everyone wants to explain their car choice. For buyers where status matters more than specifications, that brand gap is insurmountable regardless of the ET9's technical advantages. Service infrastructure creates another practical concern. Mercedes operates thousands of dealerships globally with trained technicians and parts availability. NIO has strong presence in China with growing footprints in Europe and select Asian markets, but their network remains a fraction of Mercedes' scale. If something breaks on an ET9 in rural Montana or Portugal, good luck finding a qualified technician or replacement parts. Mercedes owners enjoy peace of mind knowing service is available almost anywhere. NIO owners accept early adopter risk in exchange for cutting-edge technology at lower cost. But for buyers who prioritize technology, performance, and innovation over badge prestige, the ET9 makes a compelling case. You're getting 900-volt architecture, 600-kilowatt charging, battery swapping, fully active suspension, steer-by-wire, more power, advanced autonomous driving hardware, and handcrafted luxury interiors for less money than a base S-Class. That value proposition is impossible to ignore. Mercedes can argue their brand has earned premium pricing, but when a Chinese upstart delivers superior technology for less money, that argument sounds increasingly hollow. The market is responding. All 999 units of the ET9 First Edition sold out within 12 hours of pre-orders opening, generating massive demand despite the vehicle costing nearly $115,000. Chinese buyers clearly trust NIO enough to spend serious money on their flagship. NIO delivered over 2,000 ET9 units in the first several months since launch began in March 2025. Strong numbers for a vehicle at this price point. The S-Class sells approximately 8,000 units monthly in China, still leading the segment but facing unprecedented pressure from domestic alternatives. European expansion is underway. NIO operates in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands, and Germany with additional markets planned. The ET9 will arrive in these markets likely by late 2025 or 2026, creating direct showroom showroom competition with the S-Class in Mercedes' home territory. Pricing will inevitably be higher than China due to import duties and taxes, but even at 130,000 to 140,000 euros, the ET9 would still undercut many S-Class variants while offering technologies Mercedes doesn't have. The brutal reality facing Mercedes is this isn't just one challenger. NIO's ET9, Zeekr's 007, Yangwang's U7, and multiple other Chinese luxury sedans are all gunning for the S-Class with similar strategies: advanced technology, lower pricing, and aggressive feature content. Mercedes can respond by cutting prices, but that erodes margins and diminishes brand prestige. They can accelerate technology development, but that takes years and billions they've already spent on combustion engine platforms they're now phasing out. Chinese automakers didn't waste money developing and maintaining combustion engines for decades. They leapfrogged directly to electric platforms, allowing them to iterate faster and incorporate newer technologies without legacy baggage. The ET9 proves Chinese automakers have reached technological parity and in some areas surpassed Western established players. This isn't a copycat vehicle, it's a ground-up development using proprietary technology, custom silicon, and manufacturing processes that match or exceed European quality standards. NIO spent a decade learning, billions in development capital, and attracted talent from Tesla, BMW, Volvo, and other premium brands. The ET9 is where that investment pays off. For buyers evaluating a new S-Class purchase, the question becomes whether that three-pointed star is worth $30,000 or more versus an ET9 that delivers superior technology and performance. Brand prestige matters, but so does value. The ET9 forces that uncomfortable calculation in ways no previous Chinese luxury car has managed. That's why Stuttgart is nervous, why European regulators scramble to implement tariffs, and why this vehicle genuinely threatens Mercedes' dominance in the segment they invented. The S-Class isn't dead, but its monopoly on automotive luxury just ended.